You're watching NBA Now. Harrison Graham and Chase Sr. with you. We're going to break down ESPN's Post-NCAA tournament NBA mock draft. They did a full two-round mock. We're just going to take a look at the first round. We'll certainly look at some deeper prospects later on at some point, though, Chase. But you broke down your initial lottery mock draft last week, so now we can kind of see where the ESPN's NBA mock draft stacks up as we get to this point in time. And you had Jalen Suggs #1 last week.
I did. And the thing about mock drafts, I love how fired up people get about mock drafts. They just get into the comments and they're like, how could you have Jalen Suggs #1? These things change over time. And as ESPN shows, there were some changes in their mock draft as compared to ours.
So ESPN's mock has Cade Cunningham going #1 overall out of Oklahoma State. That differs from what you had in Jalen Suggs last week.
Yeah, I had Jalen Suggs going #1, Cade Cunningham going #2. I think these two are going to flip-flop in the draft process. Cade Cunningham is a superstar player, shot 40% from three at 6'8". He can create, he can shoot, and score from all three levels. Love Cade Cunningham.
Evan Mobley, the center out of USC, goes #2 to Houston. He's been moving up draft boards.
Yeah, and a lot of people were high on him going into this season, and as USC made a run in the NCAA tournament, the hype grew even larger. This is a guy who's tall, who's long, great defender. He can also score the basketball at an elite rate. If he develops an outside shot, given his athleticism and length, it could be game over.
Jalen Suggs out of Gonzaga, the hero in the Final Four for the Zags. He goes #3 to the Pistons.
The reason why I love Jalen Suggs, he can impact the game in a variety of ways. You saw what he did against UCLA. That sequence where he blocked that shot on the recovery, picked up the basketball, and then made that downcourt bounce pass in stride to Kispert was beautiful. He hits the half-court shot, so he can come through in the clutch. I also love how passionate he is about the game, Harrison, and his leadership skills as well. I think this guy, no doubt, is going to be a productive player for 10-plus years.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch because Cunningham and Suggs are, two of the popular picks to be the top pick in this year's draft. Guys, you and I have gone back and forth on looking at some of these top prospects this year. I'm more of a Cunningham guy. I think his ceiling is higher. You think you're more of a Suggs guy. You think he may have more of an immediate impact, which could very much be the case. So we'll ask you guys, pick one for us. Who would you rather have? Type S for Jalen Suggs, type C for Cade Cunningham. We'll make this the pinned comment on today's video. If you could pick any prospect, go ahead and let us know. #4, Jalen Green, who's been playing in the G League this year.
Yeah, he's been lighting it up for the Ignite. And I have a pro comp for Jalen Green, who's just been playing really well for the Ignite. He reminds me a lot of a bouncier Bradley Beal.
Ooh.
And kind of like Zach LaVine a little bit. He has that type of scoring potential, but from an athletic perspective, he's got pogo sticks and he's really bouncy, more so than Bradley Beal. And athletic-wise, he can score and looks a little bit like Zach LaVine. A ton of potential there.
Also playing for the Ignite is Jonathan Kuminga, 6'8", kind of a 3-4 hybrid there.
Yeah, with Kuminga, he really has to improve his field goal percentage. It's just simply not good enough because he shot less than 39% from the floor this past season, 25% from three.
Not great.
Nowadays in the NBA, if you're playing the wing spot, you have to shoot threes at a more consistent rate.
If you want us, Chase, myself, to do our own mock draft, we did one last week, maybe we'll do a full first-round mock, subscribe. If we get enough subscribers on today's video, we'll crank up another mock draft sometime in the next couple of weeks. So hit that big red button and subscribe if you want a fresh mock draft. #6, Keon Johnson. We'll pick things up as we kind of progress throughout this mock. The guard out of Tennessee.
Yeah, he declared recently. It's unfortunate Tennessee didn't make a deep run in the NCAA tournament because he didn't get the national spotlight that he deserves.
Davion Mitchel, a player you and I really love a lot. Get on the hype train. Two-way player. He's a dog defensively, and he can shoot from deep.
He's one of my favorite prospects in this draft class, and he reminds a lot of people offensively of Donovan Mitchell. No, they are not brothers. Yes, they wear the same number, but his handle, his creating skills, his ability to score, very reminiscent of Donovan Mitchell. My favorite part about Davion Mitchell, though, he is an absolute dog, and he from day one is going to be able to step on an NBA court. He's going to get right in your face. He's going to be able to defend, and because of that, he's going to be a 10 to 12-year vet at a really productive player.
Jalen Johnson out of Duke. He opted out, I believe, early on in the season. Played until about February, then opted out. This is the Magic pick via Chicago. By the way, I should mention ESPN based their draft order on their power index, so it's not purely based on the current standings.
Yeah, Jalen Johnson, if you factor him into that Orlando lineup, I kind of like the makings of what Orlando is doing, and I think at the wing spot, they kind of need a player of Jalen Johnson's caliber. I really like the fit there.
Who is the most underrated prospect in this draft class? Maybe it's Davion Mitchel. I don't know if he falls into that category anymore. Maybe it's a Jalen Johnson. Get your votes in. Most underrated prospect this year. Franz Wagner, the younger brother of Mo Wagner, who recently got traded to the Boston Celtics, more of a wing. He's going to Sacramento in this mock.
Look, I know he didn't play well against UCLA in the NCAA tournament. That doesn't distract me or kind of sway me away from Franz Wagner. I just don't think he's that good, and I don't know if his game translates for him to be a top 10 pick. A first-round guy, yes, you bet on that potential, but top 10, this one confused me from ESPN.
Scotty Barnes, number 10 out of Florida State. The Seminoles keep just plugging away draft picks. It's kind of wild.
Leonard Hamilton churns out NBA products. Patrick Williams last year at number 4 has been awesome for the Bulls. Scotty Barnes has that type of ability.
So he's going to the Knicks at number 10. We'll keep it rolling here in just a moment. But, hey, subscribe. Get us to 250,000 subscribers before the playoffs. Less than 10,000 away. Got about 7 weeks to help us get there. That's our goal. So if you love the NBA, if you love mock drafts, we'll continue to do those. News, rumors, playoff coverage. We'll do it all. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. Isaiah Jackson, it may have been a bad year for Kentucky, but he is a good prospect.
Yeah, and the Raptors are really missing Serge Ibaka.
Yes.
Aaron Baines, he ain't cutting it. Isaiah Jackson, he slides into that forward or center spot in that player development factory. I love his ability to grow in that Toronto Raptors system, and I think the ceiling is very, very high for this prospect.
Corey Kispert struggled in the Final Four, the wing out of Gonzaga, but he really can light it up, and I think in the right system, this can be a 10-year pro, probably coming off the bench for a team.
He looked overwhelmed against the athleticism and the length and speed of Baylor. So that does concern me a little bit. But at number 12, you're betting on some upside here. There are some Joe Harris comps. And I think if he becomes a more consistent outside shooter, he's a similar type of athlete. He might even be a better athlete than Joe Harris was at Virginia. I think Kispert could be really good as well. For me, it's all about that consistency, and him matching up against the swarming defense of Baylor really did concern me just a tad.
Cameron Thomas, the guard out of LSU, going to the Pelicans at 13.
Just a dude who can make plays. That's what Cameron Thomas does. And for Will Wade, he was their go-to guy, had a good NCAA tournament showing. If you need a bucket, this is the athlete who can get you one.
The Indiana Pacers go Josh Giddey. Yes, that is the 36ers. Where is that, in Australia?
Adelaide, mate. Good eye.
There you go. What do you think about this kid?
Playing ball in the down under.
There you go.
Josh Giddey. He makes me giddy. No, he's pretty solid, though.
The Golden State Warriors in ESPN's mock draft take. I'm going to try and pronounce this right. Alperen Sengun out of, correct me here, Chase.
Yeah, he plays for Besiktas in the Turkish Super League.
Yes.
And Alperen Sengun is a really intriguing prospect. Now, I don't know why Mike Schmitz and Jonathan Givony had him going to the Golden State Warriors, especially with the Kristaps Porzingis rumors out there. You already have James Wiseman. But what he is as a prospect, he's a pretty good athlete. He can pass the ball really creatively out of the post. He takes less than a three-point attempt per night. But his numbers this year, pretty impressive in the Turkish Super League, which does have a lot of legitimate talent. 19-plus points per game, 9-plus rebounds. He's active defensively as well. I think there's room for him to grow in terms of the physicality and his body. He does need to get much stronger, but he can run the floor really well. I like his passing ability too. And hey, I don't care if you're playing overseas in the Turkish Super League or what. He's shooting almost 64% from the floor. That's very effective. My main concern with him, it's his body. He definitely needs to get stronger because in the NBA, when you have to bang bodies down low with some legit centers like Embiid or like like Bam Adebayo, you have to be able to take that physical pounding.
I'm kind of with you. A interesting fit for Golden State to go ahead and draft another big 2 years in a row. I don't really quite get this pick from Givony and Schmitz here, but that's who they have going to Golden State in ESPN's mock draft. The order will change, the mocks will change, the scouting reports will evolve. Obviously, things can change over time, but this will be a fascinating one to follow as we get closer and closer to draft time. And hey, remember, Golden State also has that Timberwolves lottery pick. So as of now, based on the mocks and the draft order, they don't have that pick, but based on how the ping pong balls bounce, you never know.
And it's top 3 protected. Can you imagine if that pick falls outside of the top 3 and the Warriors are picking at 4? You talk about their struggles this year. That could change if they get number 4.
So Sengun to Golden State at number 15. He comes after these 4 prospects just before Golden State and ESPN's mock draft. Keep things rolling here. Kai Jones, the center out of Texas. He is a high-energy player that is more developed, I think, defensively right now, but we've seen Texas bigs in the past really kind of take that jump once they get to the NBA, and I think that could happen here with Kai Jones.
Rim-running big,
yes,
who, from an athletic standpoint, can really wow you when you're in the gym. He's long, he's athletic, he's bouncy, and that certainly translates to the NBA level.
James Bouknight, a player I know you're pretty high on, the guard out of UConn, put up big numbers this year, only played in 15 games, would average almost 20 points a game.
Yeah, so I compared him earlier to a player like Lou Williams offensively. I think James Bouknight has more defensive potential, obviously, than Lou Williams. Bigger. Other comparisons, like he can score in bunches, kind of like C.J. McCollum or Jordan Clarkson. You saw what he did at UConn this past year, almost 19 points per game. He shot a respectable nearly 45% from the floor. I'd like him to become a better creator, but if you expect him to score like a Lou Will, like a C.J. McCollum or Jordan Clarkson, he can certainly do that.
Trey Mann, Sharif Cooper, and I'm going to attempt this one, Usman Garuba. Who stands out of these 3 guys?
Sharif Cooper. 5-star recruit who went to Auburn. He was held out because of eligibility issues. He's a McDonald's All-American, averaged more than 20 points and 8+ dimes per night. He can be kind of like what Tyrese Maxey has been this year and have that type of immediate impact for a team this upcoming season.
We got 10 more picks to go, but one more reminder to subscribe to Chat Sports. We're going to do our own mock drafts. We'll continue to react to other mock drafts because who doesn't love mock drafts? It's a whole lot of fun. Subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/chatsportstv, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun. Moses Moody at number 21 overall, the guard out of Arkansas. Talk about him for just a second.
Yeah, Moses Moody is good. He certainly improved his stock throughout the NCAA tournament, got some really good coaching at the college level as well. My favorite player of these 5, Ayo Dosunmu out of Illinois. He was the USA Today Player of the Year. I covered him at Morgan Park in Chicago in high school. This kid is an exceptional leader. He has a lot of potential. He needs to become a better catch-and-shoot three-point shooter, but he can create, he can score, and he also has a knack for being extremely clutch.
In ESPN's Post-NCAA tournament mock draft, Jared Butler going to the Lakers at number 23, a player you and I have watched quite a bit, was under the spotlight in the NCAA tournament chase. I like this value a lot for the Lakers in the purple and gold, a two-way player who has unlimited range from the outside.
At some point, you have to start thinking about the post-LeBron era. He's 36 years old. In his 3 seasons in L.A., he's already suffered 2 injuries that have kept him out of the lineup for an extended period of time. LeBron James, no doubt the bionic man, but start thinking ahead, and Jared Butler could be that type of guy. Now, a lot of younger people might be familiar with him, not just because he just won a natty at Baylor in the NCAA tournament. He also hopped on Pardon My Take with Barstool. That gave him some shine as well. But you look at the numbers that he put up this past year, this is a guy who's a bucket getter, and he was one of a bunch of exceptional athletes on that Baylor team. And hey, look at what he can do from beyond the arc. He's shooting nearly 42% from 3. That's a dynamic offensive player.
I'll give you a comp here. How about Malcolm Brogdon?
Love that.
He can play point.
Absolutely,
he can play the 2. He's a good defender. I like Jared Butler a lot. Coming into this year, he was the highest touted player on Baylor's team, and then Davion Mitchel just said, hey, I'm going to take that one over. But I like Jared Butler a lot. I think you put him on a team that's already in win-now mode like the Lakers. He can play 15, 17 minutes off the bench. As a rookie, you pair him with a guy like Talen Horton-Tucker. You got two pieces for the future, which is something you were talking about. I like this one quite a bit for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, and I think, look, maybe you move on from KCP eventually, right? He's very expensive. So then if you replace him
you don't
with a guy like Jared Butler and you don't re-sign some of the players on the roster currently like Dennis Schroeder, this is a much cheaper option. Alex Caruso, another guy who's going to be a free agent after this year and could demand around $10 million. Hey, Jared Butler won't demand that much money, and I'd argue he can give you just as much ability as those guys.
Who is your favorite sleeper prospect for this year's draft? I want to hear it from you guys. I like Butler a lot. Here's the thing about the NBA draft. There's always guys that come out of nowhere because international prospects, small school prospects. We're going to get to one in just a little bit as well. Favorite sleeper prospect for this year's draft? Go ahead and comment right now. Real quick, 24 and 25 here. Zaire Williams to the Nuggets, and then also Charles Bassey out of Western Kentucky going to the Rockets. This was formerly the Milwaukee Bucks pick, obviously the P.J. Tucker trade.
Love small school guys climbing up draft boards. Charles Bassey out of Western Kentucky, a guy who a lot of teams love. Zaire Williams does have lottery potential. That's a guy who at 24 here, if you get him at 24 and you're Denver, another place that really develops players well, Zaire Williams has a lot of potential as well.
Chris Duarte, an older prospect, 23 years old, a guard out of Oregon, a player who can score. Another player, yes, that is the brother of Marvin Bagley. That is one Marcus Bagley. Kind of an inefficient rookie season or freshman season at Arizona State.
Just don't understand how a guy who is that talented like Marcus Bagley shoots 39% from the floor. That's just not good enough.
Sometimes you get these recruits to certain programs and it doesn't work. You never really know what the case is there. At 28, Jaden Springer out of Tennessee, kind of a combo guard. And let's talk about Max Abesmith. Can we get him some love here? The Oral Roberts kid who led the nation in scoring, a very fun, undersized player. Could he be a J.J. Barea in the NBA? Who knows?
I think he could be much better because I think he could be a much better scorer than J.J. Barea. And how about this? Western Kentucky, Oral Roberts guys potentially going in the first round. I really like him as a player and a prospect, and I also like the fit of him going to the Sixers because they could use a guy who could create and score.
Greg Brown, a talented recruit out of Texas, never really put it together in college, high ceiling going to the Jazz, and that wraps up ESPN's mock draft after the NCAA tournament.